Hello, my 7th graders. So today we're going to complete the box and whisker plot notes, which you've already learned the concept of box and whisker plot, so this shouldn't be too bad. So there's 5 important numbers that we need to concern ourselves with. The first is the minimum, which is also known as the lower extreme. The others, on the other end, that would be the maximum, or the upper extreme. The next number that you would be looking for is the middle. This is the median, and we've already discussed how to find the median. When we have an odd set of data, it's just the middle number. When we have an even set, that means we're going to cross down until we get to the center, and there's going to be 2 numbers, and we'll have to take the average. Then the next number that you're going to concern yourself is the median of the lower set, which this is referred to as both the lower quartile, which would be LQ, or it's sometimes referred to as the first quartile, which would be Q1. And then for the upper set of the data, you would also find that median, which is known as the upper quartile, which is UQ, or the third quartile, referred to as Q3. All right. So once we have those 5 pieces of information, we create our box and whisker plot. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the first example. It says Danny's friends, don't know why it's not just Danny, it's Danny's friends' bowling scores. So we're going to order them from least to greatest. The smallest one is 17, and then 32, and then 59, 65, 73, 87, and the last one's 135. So the nice thing about ordering them from least to greatest is you automatically see your lower extreme is 17, your upper extreme is 135. Then you go to find your median, and I'm going to use a highlighter. So I'm going to cross out, and cross out, and cross out, and then it's our middle number, so that's 65. Then when we go to look at our first quartile and our third quartile, the key here is we've used our median. Our median, is 65. So when we go to look at our lower half of the data, we're only focused on the numbers that are below the median. We don't need the median. And then when we go to look at our upper set of data, we again don't need the median. So if we were to cross out here, the middle number of this set is 32. So the first quartile, or lower quartile, is 32. And then here we'd cross out 73 and 135, and we'd be left with 87 as our third quartile. Now our interquartile range is a range, so it's going to be a difference between the bigger number from the smaller, or the bigger number minus the smaller number. And when it says interquartile, what it's referring to, and I'm going to use this ugly box and whisker up here, is just the box part of our box and whisker. That's the inner quartiles, and the exterior quartiles would be the whiskers. So inner quartile range means we're going to take the third quarter and subtract the first quarter away. So it'd be 87 minus 32, and I don't have a calculator on me, but I think that is 55. Okay. Now we have to graph it. We have to decide what we're going to number by. And I do that by looking at the lower and upper extreme. So my lower extreme is 17. My upper extreme is 135. That's a big difference there. So I'm going to count by tens. I'm going to start at 10 and see if I can make my way to 140. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. Oh, look at that. Perfect. 140. Now I'm going to go back and number all those. All right, so once you've figured out how you're going to number your number line, you go back and put those 5 pieces of information in. So we start with 17, and because I've already written that my lower extreme is exactly 17 somewhere on my piece of paper, I'm not concerned about getting very, very, very precisely at 17. So that's roughly where 17 would be. Now, if you didn't tell me what exactly your lower extreme was, I would want you to label it so that I know that you know exactly what it is. But since it's written somewhere else, I'm not concerned about it. Then we're going to go up to 135, and then I'm going to put a dot at the median, which is 65. At the first quartile, which is 32. And the third quartile, which is 87. And then there's 2 ways of doing this. You guys have seen this before, so I don't know which one you're most familiar with. You always put lines for your whiskers on the outside. You always make a box for the inside and a line through the median. And now this is what I think is most common, is the way it is right now. But some people like to draw a line all the way through. And I'm okay with that. If you prefer that, having that line or not having that line, totally up to you. It's whatever you think is prettier. All right, so now we're going to answer some questions based on our plot. It says, what's the smallest score? That would be the lower extreme, so that would be 17. Half of the scores are under what number? Now, we haven't talked about this yet, but you did say you've seen it before, so hopefully we're familiar. These are called quartiles. And that's because there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each of them has 25% of the data. Just like quarters are 25 cents out of a dollar. And it says half of the scores are under what number? So half would be 50%, and under would be the bottom 50%, so less than 50% would be our median. So my median was 65, so our answer there is 65. Okay, and then the last one. What percent of scores are over 87? So 87 was our third quartile. So that was here, and it says over 87, so that would be this section, which would be 25%.